right. Good morning, everybody. This is second part of Meet the Moderators. This morning we have Teresa on here. Teresa is going to walk you guys through how she starts her morning and why she trades and all that good fun stuff. And then we're going to try to find some trades together. So Teresa, I'm going to let you get started.
All righty, guys. Good morning. I want to thank everybody for waking up early to join us. I'm really excited to sort of talk about some different things with you guys today than I normally do. So the first thing I want to do this morning is I want to get everybody grounded on why we do this. So I want everybody to get out a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to write down why I trade. And then I want you to answer that question. For me, why I trade is honestly, I effing love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love the highs. I love the lows. I really love the thought of being able to sneak into Wall Street and sneak out with just a little bit. So for me, it's an absolute passion and I love it. So that's my why. Now, what we're going to do is walk through. Neighbors had this gorgeous presentation. I'm going to walk through the down and dirty, really and truly, of what I do to start my day. And truly, my day starts. Let me back up just a little bit. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I spent 17 years in Silicon Valley working in high tech. I worked for Macromedia before it was purchased by Adobe. I worked for National Semiconductor before they were purchased by Texas Instruments. I worked for Pacific Bell before they were purchased by Southwestern, and moved to Alaska, finished up my bachelor's in business administration, and then got to a point where, okay, what am I going to do now? And someone suggested that I look into trading. That was in December of 2016. Did some research, was online looking at a few things, found BlackBox. I started with BlackBox on January 2nd. And I am proof of the power of BlackBox. That's a little bit about me. You guys know that I live in Alaska. So I wake up at 3:30 in the morning to start my day. But really and truly, my day starts the night before. So I go through, I have a big binder that I go through, and this is literally my handwritten note. What I want to do is I go through and look at what's happening in pre-market, and then I like to have a good overview of my environment, what's happening. So I set up for Asia, the EU, yield has been a big issue that keeps coming up for us. Gold as a defensive play. The JPY, I like looking at to see the strength of the dollar, and oil can rock markets. The other thing I go through is I go through my favorite economic data site and just list everything that's coming up the next day. So this kind of gives me my little template. I know what economic data that I'm looking at. So then the next morning, this is what it gets filled out to look like. And these are all my notes. You guys hear me when I first come on in the morning and I'm going through, this is what the economic data looks like. This is what's happening from different tickers. And so I wake up in the morning, I go get my coffee as I'm filling this out. Sorry for switching the screens, guys. So wake up in the morning, go get my coffee. As I'm getting my coffee, I am listening to my theme song. If you guys don't have one, you should get one. Mine is Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine. That's my wake up. I then come back to my desk, and then I start going through news. And so I'm going to start. This is where I'm going to look for my pre-market data. I actually also go to the pre-markets page on CNBC. And this is where I'm pulling up. Actually, it's just markets. Pulling up all the information where I'm looking for. So I'm looking at, the reason why I look at some of these, gold, like I said, is a defensive play, and we're seeing gold actually take a hike today. So this just gives me a good overview of what's happening worldwide, and then I start drilling down. I do receive a couple of emails. I actually love the Wall Street Journal. They sent out an email called 10 Points, takes you through what they're looking at. Again, it's more high level. Same thing, Bloomberg's 5 points. And then I go straight to BlackBox. And my absolute favorite news source. I paid for this before it was added to BlackBox, and the Fly News absolutely rocks. Fly News, if you pay for the premium subscription, is $65 a month, and it's actually included as part of BlackBox for free. So you can toggle on the news. So look, we know there's a few things that move tickers. Ratings is one of them. So you can click on ratings and see exactly who has received upgrades and downgrades this morning. I'll usually click there, make a few notes. Now, for me, I do not play the smaller tickers. I tried it when I first started and I'm just not good at it. So I prefer to play bigger names. And you guys hear me talk about my favorites every morning. I like to focus on a few names. Those are kind of my go-tos. And then we'll look at anything else that might be moving. So every day I'm looking at Tesla, the FANGs, Apple, AMD, NVIDIA. Like I said, that time in Silicon Valley has given me, I worked in the semi space, so that's why I love them. But those are my go-tos. I'm then going to news to see what else might be moving. And I scroll down through the news, just take a quick look at everything, and drinking my coffee and just scrolling through. After I go through and make all of my notes for you guys, then I'm going and I am looking at this alert log. I'm looking to see what tickers we've actually alerted in the morning. And then I go to the pre-market scanner. What else is moving? SPI is freaking cranking today. We've also got NVCN, but that's a little one. Like I said, that's not one that I normally play. So going through the pre-market scanner, and then I start going through my charts. So guys, I use eTrade Pro. This is the setup that I use when I'm looking and scanning through different things that are moving. You can see I've got AMD, BA, Microsoft, Tesla. I've got FDX up here, NVIDIA. The way that eTrade is set up, it actually gives me little tabs, so it's different little screens. I'm also constantly watching the SPY, the Qs, UVXY. I've got Netflix, Amazon. Right now I have IWM up here. I've also been watching Google. On this one, all right, this is actually my trade screen. So when I am in a trade, this is what I'm watching. So I've got BA pulled up here right now. What this is a 1 minute regular candle chart. I've got level 1 and level 2. I've got NQ pulled up. I've got the Qs pulled up. When you guys hear me talking about the high, something hitting a high, eTrade has this little thing called a high-low ticker. This is what I'm shouting out when I'm saying something's hitting a high of day. I'll show you in just a second. Actually, I'll show you right now. If you do not have eTrade, you can go to BlackBox, click on the alert stream, and you have something very, very similar. Right now I've got it because I've got BIIB pulled up from this morning. But if you click on it, it'll give you a whole bunch of different data in terms of like, so SJB just hit a new 52-week low. But I actually have it right here. I have the tick and the trend. These won't be active until the market opens, but I like watching these. So these are just line charts. I'd prefer to have them on one chart, but eTrade does some funky things with scaling for me. So what I'm looking for, what I like to see is that if I'm looking to go long, I want to see the tick above the 0 line, and I want to see the trend below 1. If I'm looking to go short, I want to see the tick below the 0 line. So hold on. If I'm going long, I want to see the tick above the 0 line. If I'm going short, I want to see it below the 0 line and the trend above 1. So on this screen, I'm looking to get into a trade. On my setup, what I've got here is an 8. This one is the 8 EMA. I have the 20 MA, the 34. Purple line is going to be the 200. And then VWAP is going to be down here somewhere. And there's VWAP. What I like to see, so I'm going to wait until the market opens. And I like these moving averages because I want to see not only where the candles are falling on the moving average, but I also want to see the direction of them. If they're pointing up, that can indicate that the stock is going to continue. If it's pointing down, I could be looking at a reversal. So 1 minute, if you're trading something like Amazon, I can only trade on the 1 minute. But if I'm trading something like BA, I also like to look at the 5 minute. And on the 5 minute, I'm using Heineken candles, Heikenashi candles. And I do these because, here, you can see this in pre-market. See how the Heikens kind of smooth out the action and make the trend a little bit cleaner? The 5 minute on the Heiken can actually have me stay in the trade just a little bit longer. It's because those candles are averaged out, it lets me see just a smoother trend. I also have the MACD on both charts, and I use Maria settings of 585 on these. It moves a little faster. And then I've got the Eiler Fisher. I like this indicator a lot, and for both of them, they're directional indicators. They're telling you, okay, this is the action that we're seeing. If I'm in something, so if I were to go short on BA, see how BA is, these candles are just staying below that 8. The way this lines up, you can see I've got the 8, the 20, and the 34. So I want it to stay below the 8. But if I'm watching what's going on, I can say, okay, if it pops above the 21, I'm okay with that. But I don't want to see it pop through the 34. If it starts getting to where it's looking like it's doing that, then I'm going to be out of the trade. Really, this clean sort of below these lines is what I'm looking for. Let's see, what else do I have on my list for you guys? So on E-Trade, because this screen is relatively small, this is where I'm looking at my 1 and my 5. If I want to go, and I actually do this, I pay for TradingView if I am, and this is what I use for when I'm looking for a longer term chart. So this is my daily, my weekly, my monthly, and you guys can see why, right? The chart is much, much bigger. So the reason why I also like the 20, so what I've got on here, I've got my same 8 EMA, but now I've got some longer averages. I've got the 50, I've got the 100, I've got the 200, and I've got Bollinger Bands. And Bollinger Bands are also using that 20 SMA. That's what the midline on the Bollinger Band is. So these little green squiggly lines are my Bollinger Bands. And then these are Fibonacci pivot lines. I also, on the E-Trade, have Fibonacci pivots. You can't see them so clearly here. But when we're talking about pivots, these are the Fibonacci pivots. Now, these are standard settings on E-Trade for Fibonacci pivots. If you're using TOS, you can use SVE, and I think Jenny uses Woody pivots. Pivots are just big support and resistance lines. You still have, so you can see here, right? There's, well, this is probably not the best example. Let me go over here. So you've got a pivot here, pivot here, pivot here. You could have another one right there. Well, that's at the previous close. But you can see you've got another little resistance line right there in the middle between those two red lines, which are the pivots. So what I'm looking for is I'm just looking to see what the candle action looks like as it comes up to each one of those pivots. I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback, but I want to see some volume coming in. So I've got my volume line here as well, and I want to see it pushing through those pivots. If it runs into problems, I know it's time to get out. All righty. Let's see. What else do I have on my list for you guys? I went through starting my day, the other thing. So during the day, looking for setups that I like, getting into the trades. I prefer to trade only in that first, between when the market opens and about 11:30. I know for me, and Maria's mentioned it as well, lunchtime volume drops off and I just don't do as well in my trades at lunchtime. So at lunchtime, what I'm doing is going back and reviewing my trades. If you guys go over to resources, and I'll post this in the room again, this is a super simple trade journal. This is exactly what I posted up, and I will go back through and list what trades I made in the morning, and I'm going back and reviewing my charts to see what I think could be running in the afternoon. Looking for news again. But the trade journal, this one is really, really simple. It's got the date, it's got the symbol, what setup I was looking at. Is this a call or a put? How many contracts I had? What did I fill at? What was my stop? Where was my sell? And how did the trade go? And then these, for this one, I set some formulas up in here already. This one will auto-calculate this column to give you a day total. Your broker should give you a P&L, and the reason why I put that in there is because these numbers do not include commissions. So your broker P&L will give you the difference. You can see right there what you paid in commissions, your total number of trades. This will calculate off of this number, which simply says give me whatever this is. You go through, you count them up, and you can say your wins, your losses, and then it will actually calculate out your win rate. I really like going through. So morning session is done. During lunch, I'm going through, plugging in some numbers and looking at this. And then at night, I come back and go, okay, let's look at what I did. If there was something that I didn't like, or the trade didn't go as well as I liked, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to pull back up the chart and take a look and see what I'm doing. So that's the trade journal. Go back here and see what else is moving this morning. Once we open up on the once the market opens up, there's a couple of tabs that will populate that I will go through. So for the heat map and the volume tab, which are also two of my favorites on BlackBox. So now I've gone through the rest of my day. I've filled out the rest of my trade journal. I'm going back and setting up my trading day for the next day, just getting my form together, going through my economic data, reviewing the day. At night, I try to at least watch something. I am always studying. There's always something to learn in trading. And one of the things I just added to my little arsenal is I have a whole bunch of audiobooks, and I actually listen to them to fall asleep. And so I'll set my little sleep timer, and when I'll fall asleep, but subliminally, or when I wake up in the night, I can actually hear different things that are going on. And so one other thing that I think is really, really important. I'm really big on routines, and I'm really big on sort of setting myself up for the day. So I go through, get all of my notes taken down, I've reviewed my charts, and then I step away from the computer for a little while. I want to go into, I step out on my deck, I just take a few minutes to ground myself, take a few deep breaths, just get ready for my day, sort of put on my warrior persona to go out and fight Wall Street. And I also love visualization. So in those few minutes, I'm taking a deep breath, I'm visualizing where I want to get in on the charts, what sort of candle action I'm looking for. I visualize my account getting greener and greener and greener, and I just set up my day. And then, just taking those few minutes to calm down and then come back in and just be ready to rock and roll. So that is what I do with my day.
One of the things I'm watching obviously today is Apple. They got 2 upgrades today. MU as well. Apple, you know, we had the alerts this week for 190s. They were already buying 190s this week. 187.50s, I think yesterday was a 185s. I can't remember. We had alerts on. So Apple's definitely on watch. You can see the chart there. BIIB is down $88. These topped, I believe it was an Alzheimer's. Phase 3. Let's go to stocks for a second. We'll look at those down. Get my alert stream on too. Actually, let me get my pre-market scan open. So we had a few of these red alerts. If you guys don't get those, we call them rapid decline alerts. Account my settings, and from there, enable advanced. Teresa, I want you to show when we get started. I want you to go over the heat map as well, and you can go over these bottom buttons real quick.
Absolutely.
Started. So that's what I'm watching right now. MU and Apple. This SPI, obviously, just a killer alert. They don't all work out that way. We tell you that. I wish they did. Wish it was that easy. You always have to do your research. Why is SPI up 104% after the alert pre-market on 1,700,000 shares? So volume ratio, we're going to see right now SPI is traded 51 times its average 10-day volume. Think about that for a minute. 51 times, which tells me right there at 1.7, then it's traded. Oh God, it normally trades what, 34,000 a day or something. Actually, let me go check that math. E-Trade SPI. So obviously that's something we want to watch. It normally trades 34,000 a day. So yeah. What was the news on SPI? We talk about this all the time. Volume ratio news completes acquisition of 19. A lot of solar projects in Greece. Anyway, megawatts of solar power PV projects in Greece. So that's what SPI did. We'll have that on watch, obviously. As you can see, we alerted down here. Just boom, 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 boom. So again, we check that against the volume ratio. 52 times average 10-day volume. I go down through here all the time. It's just pre-market scan. So that's why SPI is moving. So is that something you take a shot on in the morning when it's, 4 or 5 times its average 10-day volume and you've seen that news and you see it starting to move? Absolutely. Those are things we'll take a shot on. Do they always work? Absolutely not. Trading's not perfect. We just try to make it as best we can. 5 minutes till the market opens. So let's look at these Apple upgrades. Go click news. BlackBox is adding some more news as well. I don't know if that got added yet, but I know they're talking about it. We'll have SEC filings and a few other things coming. Teresa, you may have to do the Apple upgrades because for some reason when I use GoToWebinar, everything acts a fool.
Okay, hold on here. Just because we were having some issues with news yesterday. Hold on. No, mine's there. Mine's there. There you go.
Okay.
And you can just do ratings. So you can sort it by ratings just on the toggle on the top.
Oh, did you not take the screen back? I'm sorry.
No. Yours just came up.
I'm telling you, it's going to act a fool.
Gotcha. Alrighty, hold on. I will take it back.
My computer hates GoToWebinar.
Mine will do the same thing. I think there's something that's going on there. All right, so for Apple, if we're wanting to look at just the upgrades today, you can toggle on the ratings button. and scroll down. So we've got a 215 from 200 at Wedbush. We've also got Needham upgrades Apple to a strong buy. And they also got an upgrade from Citi. Wow, Apple's got a lot this morning. So you can see all those straight there. And then during the day, if you want to see what's happening options news-wise, you can click on this one and it'll give you all the information that's specific to options. All right.
As far as I know, we're the only site that gives you the ratings, the options news, and I don't need to do a black box sales pitch here because it sells itself anyway. But yeah, I mean, this is my one-stop shop.
Totally.
But we designed this by traders for traders, and that's the difference. You know, is what do traders want? We listen to the community when they ask for stuff. Sometimes it may take a long time to get there because there's a million things under development, but we listen to what the traders need.
All
right, Teresa, pass it back. We'll get ready for some options in 1 minute and 20 seconds. So Apple's on watch, MU for me, BIIB.
I'm watching BJ, Tesla. Again, all of my favorites.
I keep an eye on SPI too.
It gained a little bit back on the indices from this morning. So let's see what we're going to do.
Yeah, futures actually looks good.
Well, futures were down. We're still down.
No, I'm talking about overnight, and then this morning everything. I went to bed. Everything was green, and I woke up, everything was red. So anyway, Teresa, thanks for showing us how you start your day. Now let's see if we can find something.
Absolutely.
How we use the system live.
And I've also got a question here. How many trades per day do you average? And it really depends on the day. 5, 10. If we've got a lot of stuff that's moving, it can be more than that.
I have times where I have 0.
Yep. All right, we are open.
So my options, as you guys well know, we're looking for consistency. I did buy a little bit of Apple. I bought 190s for next month.
Did you just pick those up?
Yeah, $4.95. We'll see what happens. But I got 190s for next month. All right, we're starting to see some 187.50s come through. So they're going in the money, smart. 80K above the ask. 53K on the ask. Here's 190s, 29K on the ask. All ask side for Apple right now, so we're definitely watching Apple. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and click Apple just to see that flow by itself for a second. There's some CGC as well. Let's see.
Yeah, NVIDIA is looking good this morning too.
All right. Let's go back to all options for a second. I'm watching those 187.50s. I like that they went in the money. Because those are short term. I've got 190s for next month. So just slightly in the money. We had the flow for 190s this week. Kind of thought that was crazy. All right, we're up $35 a contract in that. Not too shabby. Again, this is all about consistency and what the system alerts on these things. So Teresa, you want to show the heat map? If you want to take the screen back and show the heat map, or actually you might want to let it warm up for a few minutes just so it can get lots of things in there. You can show how that heat map works. But the system is looking for consistency. It's running millions of calculations every time. So as soon as an apple comes through on one strike, it starts to count. As soon as a bid comes through, it starts to count over. So it's just constantly keeping up with things. $190 is above the ask for this week. Again, just came through. Above the ask, 76K. And Mew, looking interesting.
We just got an alert on Cuervo and SOXL.
Oh, SOXL, stocks long. I like it.
Semi's long.
Yep. Sorry. See, these apples, so now, you know, next week, 192.50. So the system is looking at this going 1, 2, 3 is the price moving up on these, and the system's calculating that. So we'll see if we get an alert here in a minute. But I'm just going to watch Apple until I see some different flow come in that I'm interested in.
All right. Well, I've got the Apple heat map pulled up.
Apple's turtling. What do we mean by turtling? We get asked this a lot. So let's go ahead. I think we've answered that before, but let's go ahead and answer that again. So you see right here this high that it had set, that first one. Then, you know, it came under it, went back to it. When it barely sticks through, that's a turtle sticking his little head out, right? So as soon as he sticks his little head out, he either goes back in his shell or he runs to the beach. You know, this is a sea turtle. Runs to the beach. Makes it to the beach, you still got to get to the reef. You got to get past all the seagulls and everything else. So that turtle poked his head out and ran straight to the water. So that's what we're talking about. It's really not a chart pattern. It's just us being goofy more than it is anything. So those apples,
It really
those
is
apples we bought, those are up $75 a contract. Now $80 a contract. So we're up $80 a contract in our Apple 190s for next week. I'm sorry, next month, April 18th. 190s. Those are now up 85. All right, Teresa, I'm going to let you show the heat map.
All righty. I'm going to take the screen back here really quickly. Okay, guys. So this is the heat map. This is on the options page. What you're going to do is type in a symbol and you'll get this heat map. I love the heat map. I love watching the flow, but what I want to do, if I've got something, particularly if it's a swing, I want to pull this up and take a quick look at overall the flow. So just think of the heat map as a visual representation of the flow. And it's color-coded, right? Green is bullish, red is bearish. The text on the inside, basically what it's saying, if it's blue, it means the majority of the trades were on the ask. Red, the majority of the trades were on the bid. And if the text is black, it means the trades were in the middle or executed in the middle. What you've got calls on the left-hand side. So this is the current week. C1 is next week, and C2 is 2 weeks or further out. You've then got puts on the right-hand side. So if something comes through and I think it looks interesting for a swing, I'm going to pull this up and just get an overall view of what's everybody doing. And look, Apple looks really, really bullish today. And so then you can start drilling down and saying, okay, what other dates or strikes actually look interesting. I'm going to run through a couple more of these really quickly. OI is showing, this tab is showing the changes in OI from the previous day. Remember, OI is just calculated once a day. So this is today's OI. This is the change from yesterday's OI. And that's important for us because we want to know if these contracts are still open or were they closed out. And you can toggle between top calls and top puts with the little filter tab up here. I also love the volume tab. And the reason why I'm looking primarily at this one column, the ratio, this is going to tell me that GES is trading 10 times its average 10-day exponential moving average. You'll see some of these trading sometimes, 50, 60, 70 times. That's definitely something that I want to try and look at. You guys know the alerts, flow, and then historical is where we can actually go in and look at different dates. So not just today's flow, but historical flow.
Guys, I just sold that because somebody wanted to see us do this live. Teresa, if you can go to the Discord and pull up the Flex channel text. I just posted in there because I didn't want to confuse anybody. So
Okay.
I did this in the Thinkorswim account. I'm going to hold a couple in my E-Trade account, but we were in at $4.95 and out at $6.05. So that was $110.
Are you posting in the main room?
No, in the Flex channel text.
Oh. There you go. And there's your
That's what we just did, just right there. Oh, E-Trade, which I tend to like a lot better. I'm going to let ride for a little bit. We'll see if these upgrades kick in. But I just wanted to get in a quick scalp on here in front of you guys, especially since yesterday I lost $16, or it was Tuesday, it was $16 contract. So today we redeemed ourselves. I believe that was Apple too, if memory.
One more screen when you guys are looking at options, and I know TOS will let you set this up as well. This is actually my options screen, and I will also look at this particularly, at that lunchtime time frame. And what this really is, this is my options chain. This is time and sales for the options, and this is a chart of the option. So I've got NVIDIA pulled up right now. I'm looking at the 170 calls for this week. I can see that they started, you can see a lot of volume coming in on these options. They started at 683. They have now gone to 822. Underneath here, it's that same setup. I've got my 1 minute regular candles and I've got my 5 minute Heineken. So I'm watching the actual chart of the asset and I can see the charts of the option. All right, Tim, I'm going to switch it back.
Yes, look at this square that's coming through. This is interesting. We keep talking about April 5th. And April 5th, we keep seeing that date pop up for some reason. April 5th, we got some squares, 7750s above the ask, 296K. So that above the ask, again, that's a market order. We talk about that. It's a sweet market order. It's yellow, so it was an opening transaction. So it wasn't a flip or anything. That was actual just purchase coming through. So square, look at that chart. Look at those options. Something to keep an eye on. Let's see if we've got any alerts yet. Marvell. I've seen some Marvel coming through a second ago, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. Let's look and see why we got an alert. I actually was swinging Marvel from Marvell, but it's actually swinging that from last week still, or maybe in the week before. But you see it here, the consistency that we talk about, April 18th, April 18th, April 18th, 2050s, 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 started at 63 cents, 65, 67, 69. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Same strike and expiration, contracts moving in the right direction, chart moving in the right direction. That's why we got an alert on Marvell. So it's up 6%. Let's go back to the flow, see if we can find something else besides Apple to play. Marvell, I'm going to put on, I already own it, but I'll put it on watch anyway. I do want to go ahead and look at some of these apples again. Hopefully I click to the right. Now we got a lot of B's coming through for this week, 192.50s. So see, that's bearish. 192.50s with BBs and Bs. That's either somebody dumping heavily or writing contracts, right? So they think that it's not going above that this week. So that doesn't mean Apple isn't a good trade. I've got a couple out till April. I'm okay with that. But you see, in some, it could be this guy selling right here, bought for $1.15. Could be dumping out up here, or combination of things, brighter stumpers, whatever. But BBs on these sweeps are not bullish, right? So just keep that in mind. Somebody bought next week's 200s above the ask. That doesn't mean they're right, guys. This is one of those things. Again, if I see 7 or 8 of those, I might take a shot. But I'm not going to do it over any one particular sweep unless it's some multi-million-dollar sweep.
We just had a Swift bullish flow alert come in on MOS. They're buying
the check MOS
28s.
Yeah, let's go see what that alert's about. Might be something we follow. You know, and we do hear a lot of times, you know, because we do make a lot of trades, and some of them are so quick. Like that Apple a minute ago was quick. Some of these things are too quick to get typed out. MOS, yeah, see you got an opener right here. 61K above the ask at $1.07. You got some B's in here. Just not every B. Okay, when you start seeing consistency in B's, not every B, and we've seen this. Teresa, remember we had the one the Nigerians alerted that was all B's, but every B was higher than the last print. It's just the way that the things feel sometimes. Not every B is a sell, but you have to look at it like it's a potential sell, right? Sometimes you get lucky. Things are moving up. But MOS, again, consistency 28s for April. You got openers here. Something to keep your eye on. Mosaic. I've never played Mosaic. I doubt it moves very fast, so it's probably not something I'm going to be into. I like the Apples, Nvidias, Amazon, stuff that moves a little faster, personally. But chart looks good. So again, here's your turtle line, right? Here was your high. See what happened? Turtle poked his little head through, ran to the beach. That's what we're talking about. We're just being funny. SPI up 164% for the day. So it's actually held its gains pretty well. See the the very end of that chart, that line chart right there. It starts curling up or down. We just call it a possum tail because they curl their tails. Again, we're just being funny, but it kind of stuck now. You see the possum tail just curled up. So Mosaics, it's got a lot of buying coming in here, so we'll see. It's something to keep an eye on for sure. Just because I don't play them don't mean they're, you know, not good or something. It just means I don't play them.
We also have AMD back over 26.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, because I've still got some AMD. But I bought 25s for April. And after that run it had Tuesday, it kind of needed a breather yesterday, so this was really healthy for AMD. Wouldn't shock me to see that you're starting to see these ask. Well, that's 26.50, 26. If you get some consistency there, we'll alert AMD. The system, again, is keeping up with a gazillion combinations. You see right here, 4-5 again, 4-5. I like to see a whole bunch of those 4-5 26s coming through. Yeah, look at AMD. That's a pretty chart. Again, if you was talking about a turtle, right there would be your turtle line, obviously, and that turtle made it not just past the reef, but grew up, had babies, et cetera, et cetera. Long, prosperous turtle. So anyway, turtle line is just breaking resistance, right?
Okay, we have another question. Who are the Nigerians? All right, that one's another just silly black box thing. It's actually the Nigerians on CNBC, and we were talking about something, and I don't remember who it was actually said Nigerians. So the Nigerians are really the Nigerians. It's just a silly black box.
I don't say Nigerians. I say Nigerians. I don't know what it sounds like because I'm country, but it's Nigerians. So anyway, they're the guys on CNBC. They're the guys that write the books about options, you know, the smart money, blah, blah, blah. And they're on the halftime show. Good dudes. You know, they're on CNBC every day. So they do the halftime options, you know, unusual options activity. A lot of those are spreads, which we also have, but we don't alert to spreads. They do. It was funny, Tuesday on here, I actually called out their play. I said, Dow DuPont will be the one they talk about. And sure enough, it was the one they talked about. Because a lot of times we can see in the flow too, directional flow, what they're going to talk about. Today, MOS wouldn't shock me. And since Marvel's a repeat, that wouldn't shock me. I'm not going to go ahead and make a bold call like I did Tuesday and say this is what they will talk about. I'm just saying that wouldn't shock me, especially MOS, because you just don't see much flow in MOS. And, you know, I don't know if contract size is enough for those guys on MLS yet, but it's just a thought. So let's get back to all options. So for the Nigerians, you know, if that sounds funny saying it's not intentional. WDC above the ask. We ignore WDC. At least me and Teresa
Yeah,
do.
WDC is a
Why?
no for me.
Because it's had options flow since it was $100. They all should have been puts instead of calls.
Oh, we've got the Q's and the 5 cranking.
If I could get a real good dip on Apple, I would. That one again, because it just turtled as well. But I don't normally buy the second the bell opens. That's not, normally I like to give things a few minutes. Apple with that double upgrade and just the way it looked like it was setting up, we got just a slight dip. I went ahead and went in Apple knowing I had a month on the contracts anyway. So if it did dip a little bit on me, it was okay. That's why I didn't buy weeklies. I bought a month out. So if it kept dipping, I was okay. But normally I don't like to buy as soon as the bell opens. But we had a double upgrade. And actually, it may have been more than a double upgrade. I think Teresa read 3. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there were quite a few.
That much news on Apple is going to push Apple. So I'm going to wake up and press buy. That's just what I'm going to do. There's some more of those 1800s for Amazon next week above the ask, 161K. Not a lot of juice in that for, as far as Amazon goes. Apple 192.50s this week above the ask. So again, just watching for consistency. If I miss it, the alert will pick it up there. Twilio, if that had an ask beside it, I would likely go buy it because Twilio, for some reason, it hits like that won't alert. If it was roulette, it would, but it's next week. But Twilio, for some reason, that flow has just been working. So these alerts, one of the things we get asked a lot, and I'm glad I just thought about this too. I don't pay attention to all those alerts that come through. I pay attention over here. And you might say, well, by the time it gets there, it's too late to buy it. No, if it's not over here, it doesn't have enough momentum to buy. So, SPI, when it was alerted at 332 and went to 732, it went up $4. This one from 62 to 76. So there's plenty of room there. It doesn't mean there's always enough for you to play, but this is where I concentrate on. I don't concentrate on this. The system is just letting me know something unusual happened. That unusual doesn't have to be anything crazy. Maybe it did a quick spike. It's going to tell me it did a quick spike. Doesn't mean you need to buy it. It's just saying, hey, this did a quick spike. Go figure out why I did a quick spike. Or my volume's way above average. Doesn't mean I'm going to rock and roll, but it's saying, hey, Tim, go look. The volume's above average. So these are just things the system's telling me to go look at. Doesn't mean buy them. It's giving you, something that happened abnormal with a ticker. So that's what that's about. So no, I don't look at all these that come through. I pay attention strictly over here. And as a general rule, after the market especially has been open for a little bit, I move this up to over 50. Because generally, if I'm going to trade, I'm usually trading something over 50. We've traded a couple in here doing these webinars that were under. But so I'm going to go to over 50 personally. You'll see the percentages aren't as good, but if you're trading options, that percentage is all you need. So you can see that stock sell Teresa talked about. So I like to stay on over 50 personally. I'm going to come over here and look for consistency. I don't see anything crazy new that's come through. Click alerts one more time, see where those are at. We did get another one, Twilio. I had a feeling. Damn it. Oh, large bullish out to July. So $1 million. So I'm glad we're talking. I'm glad this came through. Me and Teresa and Maria were actually talking about this last night. So Twilio, when somebody buys $1 million on the ask like that, out to July, they're probably getting 2 ERs from now. So that Twilio, they paid $9.80 for. If it drops to $8, they're probably not stressing it. If you're a day trader and you're trying to day trade that alert that's out to July, you might not want to ride those large bullish because the peaks and valleys in that aren't going to be like the Apple we had this morning, right? This Twilio is going to be a slower play. It's way out of the money. It's got a lot of time on it, so it's not going to move real fast. And since it's so far out of the money, it can drop fast on you. So Twilio, if you're just a day trader and a scalper, you might want to avoid something that's alerting to July. Me, I need to see that. The $1 million on the ask, yellow openers, I'm going to buy 95% of them. I love Twilio as a company anyway. We just talked about it a few minutes ago that the flow usually works in Twilio, and here we get a $1 million on the ask. So, but if you're just a trader, and not a longer term, then that Twilio is probably not going to do it for you, right? So that's something you want to keep in mind when you see these alerts. The alerts that are more for scalping are going to be your roulettes, which are roulettes. Hey, they're dangerous. It's a casino game. So it's noted, and I'm telling you up front, when it says the word roulette, it's a casino game. Repeater bullish, that's more for scalping. But you might even see some of those out to July. You would want to ignore those as well. So if you see shorter term roulettes or shorter term swift bullish, shorter term repeat bullish, if you're a day trader, that's what you want to look for more. The repeater bullish is the last alert we just added because it is more for scalping. Again, guys, it doesn't mean they're all going to work by any means. Nothing's perfect, but it's just alerting you to momentum out there in the options. So those are the ones you want to look at if you're a shorter term trader, right? And we haven't got one today. We have a swift bullish and large bullish. I love the large bullish. But you can see it's already down 1.6%. That guy doesn't care that spent $1 million on it. He probably has not even looked to see if he filled the order yet. Twilio is one of my favorite companies. We talk about Twilio 75 in here in the room a lot. Why? Because it dropped 75 a couple times in the last 6 months, and every time it was a screaming buy. All right, there's Bloodbath and Beyond. It's got a little flow coming through, yellow above the ask. I'm going to ignore that, right? It's Bloodbath and Beyond. You see Apple still cruising to new highs here. I'm surprised we haven't got an Apple alert.
Okay, guys, do any of you have any questions? Just type them right in there in the box. Make sure and get those. We'll make sure and get those answered.
Geez, those 192.50s are moving. But the system, because of all these BBs that are coming through, it's starting to count over.
David's saying there's 5 million in bullish flow on Apple, and Jason is saying it looks like for Twilio there's a block and a sweep running together.
Let me pull up Twilio.
Jason's looking for some more info on that Twilio too. Can you explain the large block and sweep on Twilio? Is that the same buyer?
That's your same buyer. So remember, we talk about this a lot, especially in the options flow class. If you see the same buyer and part of it's a block, I count that. I look at that just like I would anything else. And actually, that'll probably Nigerian because that's enough contracts. So because we know that's the same buyer, then I'm going to look at that the same. You'll see sweep, sweep, block a whole lot of times. You'll see block, sweep, sweep. You'll see that, different combinations when it's large orders. But if it's just a solo block out there, I'm going to ignore it every time. I'm going to ignore it every time, a solo block. But because you got that $1 million sweep after it on the ask, and that on the bid, I don't know if that was moving up. Again, we talked about that a few minutes ago too. You'll see some weird stuff. You have to look at it and assume it's a sale. in this case, because I see that 1 million after it, then I don't think that's anything other than how it failed. And those contracts moved too. 865 to 980. Twilio moves, but you know that one. It's one of those things. Again, it's like it's way out in time, right? So there's going to be a lot of peaks and valleys on that stock. A lot of peaks and valleys. It's had a nice run, so I would wait on a pullback if I was going to do something like that. And you might get the 140s for the same price on a pullback. Apple kept going.
FDX is looking gorgeous today too. No alerts, just the chart.
Right. Guys and gals, if we don't have any more questions, we'll jump back over on BlackBox.